Picture this. You get to work already tired, not exhausted enough to stay home, just the kind of tired that has slowly become normal. Maybe you are entering a hospital, opening a restaurant, starting a factory shift, walking onto a construction site, or joining a morning meeting from your kitchen table. Then you see them. They smile. They ask if you are all right, and it sounds as if they actually want to know. They remember something you mentioned last week. They save you a seat, bring you a coffee, or simply look relieved that you are there. The day is not suddenly wonderful. It is just easier. You tell yourself not to make anything of it. You work together. People become close at work. That is all. But later, on the way home, you hear the conversation again. You wonder why they paused before answering. You remember the eye contact. You ask yourself whether they are this attentive with everyone or only with you. That is where things become confusing. The feeling can be real while your explanation for it is partly imagined. You can be genuinely drawn to someone and still know far less about them than your emotions suggest. At work, you rarely meet the whole person. You meet a version of them shaped by the job. You see the nurse who stays calm when everyone else is frightened. The teacher who settles a difficult room. The chef who keeps moving when the kitchen is falling behind. The technician who fixes what everyone else gave up on. The coworker who steps in when you are too tired to finish alone. Those qualities matter. Calmness, competence, and kindness are attractive for good reasons. The trouble starts when the mind carries those qualities into places where they have never been tested. They are patient with a customer, so perhaps they would be patient with you. They protect the team, so perhaps they would protect a relationship. They listen after a bad shift, so perhaps they understand you in a way no one else does. Maybe they would, but you do not know yet. A person can be excellent in an emergency and poor in an ordinary conversation. Someone can lead a department and still avoid apologizing. A person can be warm for 10 minutes in a break room and unavailable in the rest of their life. That does not make their kindness fake. It only means you have seen one part of them. Sometimes a connection feels strongest at work because work keeps giving two people something to do together. There is always a deadline, a difficult customer, a patient, a broken machine, a meeting, or someone to complain about. Take that away, and two people may discover that they do not know what to say to each other. Co-workers can spend months feeling unusually close, then meet outside work and notice that the energy is different. No shared task, no common problem, no reason to keep checking in. The silence tells them something the busy workplace never did. There is also a biological reason these connections can feel strong. Human beings are built to notice the people who make difficult situations less difficult. For most of our history, the people beside us during work were also people we depended on for safety. We learned to notice who stayed calm, shared the burden, saw the danger, and did not disappear when things became hard. That tendency is still with us. When you see the same person every day, their voice becomes familiar. You learn their habits and expressions. After a while, you can tell they are having a bad day before they say a word. Familiarity is not love, but familiarity can feel safe, and safety is easy to confuse with intimacy. Stress adds another layer. During pressure, the body becomes more alert. When the problem is solved, there is relief. Reward and learning systems, including dopamine, help the brain remember what happened and who was there. The person beside you, during the worst part of the shift, begins to stand out. Their presence becomes linked with relief. You may think, they are the only person who understands me. Another part of the truth may be, they were there when I felt overwhelmed, and my body remembers that. Those ideas can exist together, but they are not the same. Most workplace attachment does not begin with a confession. It grows through ordinary moments. They take one task off your hands. They bring you water. They defend you when someone is unfair. They ask if you got home safely. They notice you are quiet when everyone else is too busy to look. The mistake is not feeling moved by these moments. The mistake is deciding too quickly what they prove. There is still so much you do not see. You may not know how this person behaves when they are bored, jealous, disappointed, or no longer trying to make a good impression. You may not know whether they can stay in a difficult conversation, admit they were wrong, or keep a promise when it becomes inconvenient. The mind dislikes an unfinished picture, so it completes one. It takes the qualities you have seen and adds the ones you hope are there. Kindness becomes tenderness. Reliability at work becomes loyalty everywhere. A private joke becomes evidence of a rare connection. This is projection in an ordinary form. You are not inventing a person from nothing. You are taking a few real pieces and filling in the rest with what you need or want to believe. Mixed signals make it stronger. One day they seem close. The next day they are formal. They message you after work on Monday and barely speak to you on Tuesday. One conversation feels personal. The next could have happened with anyone. Psychologists call part of this intermittent reinforcement. When attention is unpredictable, the mind keeps checking for the next sign because nothing has been settled. Soon you are checking the schedule to see if your shifts overlap. You find reasons to pass their station. You reread a short message as if the answer might be hidden in the punctuation. You dress a little differently when you know they will be there. A slow reply can ruin an evening. A warm greeting the next morning can repair it. That is worth noticing. You are no longer simply enjoying someone's attention. You are beginning to use it to decide how you feel about yourself. When they notice you, you feel interesting. When they are distracted, you feel forgettable. When they laugh with somebody else, you feel rejected by a promise they never made. Sometimes the size of that reaction has less to do with the present person than with something older. Maybe praise was scarce when you were young. Maybe you learned that being useful, impressive, or easy to manage was how you earned warmth. Then, someone at work admires your ability. They rely on you. They make you feel chosen for a moment, and the feeling reaches further back than the relationship itself. That does not mean every workplace crush comes from childhood, but when the reaction is much larger than the interaction, it is worth asking what else has been touched. The person may not have created the need. They may simply have arrived where the need was already waiting. Modern work makes this harder to see clearly. Many people give their best hours to work. Coworkers see them alert, prepared, useful, and controlled. The people at home often get what remains: fatigue, silence, impatience, and a distracted glance at the phone. Then the coworker feels exciting, while the partner or ordinary life at home feels dull. But the comparison is distorted. One person sees you during limited hours, shared goals, and managed behavior. The other sees the laundry, the bills, the repeated stories, the bad moods, and the parts of life that do not make anyone look impressive. Competence is easy to admire across a room. Character becomes visible when someone is bored, disappointed, inconvenienced, or asked to take responsibility. When life outside work has become thin, a small amount of attention at work can carry too much weight. Not because the attention is false, but because there is so little competing with it. Kindness starts to feel like chemistry. Cooperation feels personal. A few private moments begin to look like the beginning of another life. Then, reality arrives. They begin seeing someone else. One of you changes, shifts, or leaves the job. The messages become less frequent. You say what you feel, and discover that they did not experience the connection in the same way. Or the closeness becomes secret, and what once felt exciting begins to create guilt and anxiety. The difficult part is that work continues. The corridor is still there. The shift begins at the same time. Their name still appears in the group chat. You may have to finish a task with someone you are privately trying to forget. There may be no official breakup because there was never an official relationship. That can make the grief feel embarrassing, as though you are mourning something you had no right to expect. But you are not only grieving the person, you are grieving the possibility you attached to them, the future that never had to survive an ordinary day. And here is the question that is harder to ask than, do they like me? Do you actually want this person as they are? Or do you want the version of yourself that appears when they pay attention to you? Maybe they make you feel younger, more confident, less trapped, or more desirable. Maybe you do not miss their actual company as much as you miss the brief feeling of being noticed. Would you want their bad moods, habits, difficult choices, and the parts of them that never appear at work? Or do you mainly want those 5-minute moments in which you feel more alive? That distinction matters. The useful response is not to shame yourself or pretend the attraction is not there. It is to become more exact about what is happening. Start with what you know. They asked if you were all right. That happened. They understand me better than anyone, is a conclusion. They sent a message after work. That happened. They are secretly waiting for me to make a move, is a story. Facts may still lead somewhere, but they should not be replaced by interpretation before anything has been said. Then imagine the person without the setting that makes them look their best. Without the uniform, the title, the shared deadline, or the feeling that the two of you are surviving something together, do you know how they handle honesty, commitment, boredom, conflict, and disappointment? Have you seen enough to answer that honestly? Next, ask what the attraction is doing for you. Does it give you excitement in a life that has become repetitive? Approval you are not giving yourself? Relief from loneliness? A reason to avoid a relationship or decision that already needs attention? The answer may be uncomfortable. It may also be useful. If the attachment is taking over, stop arranging your day around it. Do not create unnecessary reasons to message. Do not repeatedly place yourself near them and then call the closeness fate. Give the mind less material to turn into a private relationship. Put some of that energy back into the life that exists when work ends. See the friend you keep postponing. Take care of your body. Be honest about the relationship you are in. Recover an interest that has nothing to do with being impressive or useful. And if both people are free, there is no harmful power imbalance. Workplace rules allow it, and the interest is clearly mutual. An honest conversation is usually kinder than months of silent interpretation. Whatever the answer, clarity gives you something fantasy cannot, a life you can respond to. The attraction may still matter even if it never becomes a relationship. It may show you that a part of your life has gone flat. It may remind you that you miss being playful, seen, curious, or emotionally awake. Take that seriously. Just do not make one person responsible for giving all of it back to you. You can listen to what the feeling is telling you without turning the person into a future they never agreed to become. The feeling may have started around them. What you do with it is still yours.